summarize the three main verses, important verses of the chapter 9, in which Bhagavan is elaborating before us the magic presence that he has, through which he creates an appearance of this whole samsara is emerging out of it. And at the same time, he also says that he has nothing to do with it. And this is very, very contradictory. So, if we can grasp these three, four things, much of Vedanta will become very easy for us. Much of the insights which is there in Bhagavad Gita and the whole Upanishadic wisdom will become easy to capture. Remember these three, four things. One is Bhagavan is talking about there is a karya karana sambandha. So there is a cause and there's an effect, and the samsara is seen as an effect, and the cause is that mula prakriti and apara and para prakriti. So everything has emerged out of that one. Remember these three, four things I'll just mention. It becomes so easy after that to look at the commentary. So there is a causality principle which is being accepted, because without a cause there cannot be an effect. Without there is some substance, without clay or earth, we cannot have an earthen pot. So there is some sort of an imagination of cause-effect relationship, and Western Indian philosophy, everywhere we have that, relationship is accepted, except by the skeptics. The English philosophers, some of them refute it. They talk about it as conjectures. Okay, but we are not getting into it. So, first thing is there's a cause, there's an effect. So there is a causal relationship, number one. Number two, the moment we are talking about causal relationship, there are two kinds of causes we have discussed. One is upadana karana and there is nimitta karana, efficient cause, and there is a material cause. What is that Brahman or Bhagavan? He is both material and efficient cause. This thing has been explained, that he is the cause and he is also the material out of which everything. Look at these contradictions. If there is a person who gives you a cup of tea, he makes use of milk and tea powder and tea leaves and some sugar if you take it, and maybe some masala if you're having an Indian masala chai. But this tea, milk, fire, and the masala and everything is different from the tea maker. But Bhagavan says, I am the tea maker, I am the tea, I am serving you tea. Okay, remember this. These are secrets, so which will reach the whole message of the Upanishads, which is captured here in these three verses. I'm just dwelling a little because this is so profound. It's worth giving it a little more attention than just reading what is written here. Number two is what? He's saying that he's both the material cause as well as he's the efficient cause. Just park it in your mind. These are two things, cause and effect, then material and efficient. So he is both the causes at the same time. Then third, then suddenly he says, the cause is always present in the effect. That we have studied how if you have a milk tea, a tea with milk, then the milk is present in the tea. The water is also there present in the tea. The tea leaves are also present in the tea, except that the leaves are not there. The quality of the tea leaves is transferred to water and milk, so that the color of the milk changes. It becomes pinkish or reddish or whatever. And then the flavor of the tea gets transferred into this water and the milk. And when we have that cup of milk, we call it tea, even though the tea leaves have been removed. So what is happening here? The cause is captured in the effect, called the cup of tea. In that cup of tea, the causal elements materially are present. The tea leaf may not be there, the tea leaves may not be there, but the teeness is there. The flavor, the quality, the chemical quality, whatever, they have been transferred. The water quality is there, the milk quality is there, the flavor is there that you have added. So the cause is present in effect. Now you will ask, if you are God telling me that you have prabhava pralayasthatha, everything emerges out of you and goes into you, then you are a causal form like clay or gold. out of which the earthen pots and cups and other things can be made out, can be manifested, and yet you can put them back into them. Like you can smash and make them sand or clay powder and put it back to earth, Mother Earth. Or any ornaments, you put them into fire, it becomes gold again. Are you talking like this? Bhagavan says, yes, all the first he says, all these jewelries are in gold, same way, this whole sansara is in me. Then suddenly he changes it because he wants to say something else. He says, they are not in me, I am not in them. Because this is the most challenging thing to understand. He's saying there is no connectivity between that and me. Now see, the secret message is here, you can capture it. So Bhagavan is saying that you might think I'm there because I'm the soul of everything. I'm Antaryami. That word is there. He's Antaryami, Purusha. He's in all of us. That means he's in us. He's saying, but I'm not in there. Na teshu avastitaha. I'm not in any of them. Then he's saying they are also not in me. Just a while before he said Matstani Tani Bhutani, and suddenly he's just like going back on his words. It's like perjury in a court of law. He becomes a hostile witness. He's saying, no, they are not in me. But he's not lying. He's just shifting the level of conversation to a slightly higher level because he now expects the students to work a little more to get the meaning of what he's trying to say. He's saying, Aso Asongo Ayam Atma. This Atma is Asanga. It is without a double. It's just one. That is Brahma. That is monism. So there cannot be any sambandha. There can be sambandha if there is more than one. There can be a relationship. But there is only one Atma, that is Brahman, everywhere. Asanga ayam Atma. That is what the Upanishad says. So at one stroke, he's saying, I'm not connected with anything, and that we will do the commentaries. So I'm not connected with anything. I'm the cause of all of them. And then I am there in all of them. These things he's saying. So what is it going to mean to us? What does it convey? If you deeply think about it, you realize he's saying the only way we can resolve these contradictions is to accept that this whole phenomenal reality, this whole universe around us that we see, is not fundamentally real. What Upanishads are hitting at as real is just one thing called Brahman. That is real. Then there is no confusion in all it. Because all of these are imagined in that. So there is no confusion. Like you see 5 lines you are playing with in your dream. What is the relationship between you and the dream lions? Actually, there is no relationship. You saw yourself in the dream. These are all superimpositions. So when you impose something on something, there cannot be any genuine relationship. It's an imagined relationship. So for the average mind, he first says everything is created out of me. Everything is in me. I am the adhara of everything. I'm the adhisthana. I'm the foundation of all that appears. Then he goes back on his words in the sense he goes to a higher level of telling the same truth, saying that, do you know, I am not connected with anything. And these are the things which are most interesting about Bhagavad Gita. As earlier one of you had asked me this question. I am very confused. Bhagavan says, I have created this whole samsara. He says that. And then he says, but Arjuna, I'm not doing anything. It's because of your karma you are getting the results. And I have nothing to do with any of you. How selfish he is. But if you put that, we discussed in chapter 3 and 4 about the karmas. And Bhagavan says, I have no nepotism. I have no favoritism. I neither like anyone nor dislike anyone. At the same time, I remain sarva niyamaka. Everything is controlled by me. If you think a little deeper about it, just meditate on it. He's essentially saying that this whole phenomenal reality that you see, and that gives certain reasons to your mind to imagine cause and effect and relationships and who is giving me this bad results, who is giving me this good results. These are a lower level of perception, and at that level you are getting confused. But there is a higher level where the only way you can make sense of these contradictory statements is to accept that these are not fully false. If you are completely tuchha, like a rabbit's horn, if it were so stupid, as rabbit's horn, then sansara will not even appear. Have you ever seen a rabbit's horns? No, you haven't. None of us have. So the sansara is not as stupid and false as the rabbit's horns. What is it like? No, it appears. It's more like the dream. It can even induce certain biochemical changes. If you see a very fearful, sight in your dreams, you wake up sweating with higher palpitation of your heart or pulse. So it's definitely having certain implications for the way we connect with our reality. But the reality we connect with, the reality which appears real, at a much higher level, we are not different from God, and this reality is not different from God. At the same time, this reality we see is not God. We have to accept it. This is very apparent level. We are talking about that Brahma Tattva, which we cannot touch, we cannot see, we cannot feel, we cannot smell, okay? We cannot hear, we cannot smell. That reality is a supramental reality, it's not metaphysical in the philosophical sense, but imagine that this is a kind of a subtle, all-pervading reality. And that particular thing we are giving name and form as God. And therefore we are calling God Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. Then there is no contradiction now. Because we have now begun to see that Brahman is one, the whole universe is just one thing called the Brahman. However, because of the way in which we see it, we are seeing this as many, and then we are imagining ways in which we can make sense of this many. So Bhagavan helps us, Upanishads help us, by saying that they have all emerged out of God. And from that Brahman, there is Ishvara, which is with Nama and Nama Rupa. There is Ishvara, Saguna Brahman, out of which Hiranyagarbha comes. And this Prajapati or Sutra, Sutradhara, Ishvara Sutratma, he creates this whole samsara. Then he creates Akasa, out of which there is Buddhi, like Buddhi, Ahankara, right? And the Manas and Panchatanmatras and Panchabhutas, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, all the 25 tattvas that we studied earlier, they all manifest. And then we call it this whole beautiful, dreamlike reality has become real. And then you flip it, then it doesn't exist. What exists? Brahman only. So it depends on how you look at it. So he's saying that at a particular level of imperfect perception, limited perception, these will appear all real. They are not completely false. Because which is completely false cannot be vyavahara yogya. You cannot make use of it. Because he had earlier says, Nasato vidyate bhava bhava vidyate satah. That is a very powerful sentence. Nothing is asat here. This is coming out of sat, but not 100% sat. Is that sat is? What are we talking about? So we are talking about multiple layers at which reality exists. At one level, this is apparent. The other level, that is so. We talk about two theories of truths. One is Vyavaharika Satya and another is Paramarthika Satya. Even Buddhists say the same thing. One is a phenomenal reality, and we apply laws of physics and chemistry and sociology and several other laws in economics to make sense of how things happen here. Then when our consciousness becomes subtler and sharper, and when we elevate ourselves to that higher level of perception, we realize that we are all one. not as human beings. As human beings, we are all different, and we are here for a while. But is that pure consciousness? We are not different from that Brahman. If we can reach there, then why Bhagavan says, I am not in any of these? Why in all of this is actually apparent, phenomenal, just looks like that, not real. Therefore, I am not linked with them. The way when we see dreams, the dreams are not in us, nor are we in dreams. The dreams appear in our mind. And then there is a delusion that we are linked with them, but there is no real link. The way there is no real link between a stump or a pole at night, that you confuse it as a watchman or a thief. What is the relationship between the thief and that particular stump or pole? No real relationship, because the thief or the watchman actually doesn't exist. So how can you say, was the watchman and the stump are they kind of the same height? You can say actually same, because the watchman cannot look taller than that particular pole or stump. He's 6 feet. This soldier or thief or whatever you are seeing in a dark night, which looks like a human being, it will be exactly of same height and same thickness, except that actually what you see doesn't exist. And because that doesn't exist, you cannot say there is a relationship. That much he has explained. And now let's look at the commentaries, and the commentaries will become easy now because we have discussed that. So he's saying, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. So it's all pervaded by me, but who am I? I'm not a physical being. Arjuna, you're seeing me as a friend of yours. I'm standing in front of you, but actually I'm not a physical being. I don't have any name. I don't have any form. So mastani sarvabhutani, and all of these are there. They are all in me. Why? Because I'm the foundation, like a film playing on a wall. However, they will later on, they will say, actually, they are not in me, right? That's where you're getting, not aham teshu avastita. I'm not in any of them. Okay? So let's look quickly at how Shankaracharya sort of deals with it, and we'll look at the Madhusudan Tika there. So he's saying, iti jnana stutyartha. Jnana stutya arjunam avimukhi kutya aha. So maya iti. So he sort of draws his attention when he's saying this maya mama yaha paro bhavaha tena tatam vyaptam sarvam idam jagat avyakta murtina na vyakta murtihi jasya murtihi swarupaha jasya mama so aham avyakta murtihi tena maya avyakta murtina. So this is the sentence. So when Bhagavan says that this is pervaded by me, he is not referring to that physical Vasudeva Rupa that he has when he's talking to Arjuna. Nor is he trying to confuse himself with any physical reality like space or Akasa or anything. We have references to Akasa as Brahman because there is so much of similarity, because Akasa or space is also Sarvavyapta. Okay, so therefore he refers to space. However, fundamentally, that is also not what we are talking about. That ultimate reality is not space. And saying that Avyakta Murti jiska hai, wo hai, and then by that Avyakta Murtina, by that particular supra reality, which is non-manifest, this Avyakta Murtina, this is pervaded. Why is he saying this? He's saying Karana Agochara Swarupena Ityarthaha. This particular thing exists, but you can never see this, because what are the karanas we have? Karana means upakarana, or instruments of knowledge, means of knowledge. So jnanendriyas, you have the ability to see and hear and touch and smell and taste, and plus manas, the 6. But you cannot reach that existence, that Satchidananda Rupa, that Avyaktamurti that I am, through your senses. Tasmin Avyakta Murto, and in that particular reality, supra reality, what happens? Titani, Mastani Sarvabhutani, Brahmadini Stamba Paryantani. Stamba here is what? A blade of grass. From Brahma. Brahma here will be Prajapati Brahma. Ha Brahma Bhuvanar Lokaha. That's why he has already clarified earlier. They are all anitya. They have to come back again and again. Don't confuse them with me. Brahma is not me at all. When you say Brahman, it's without a name and a form. Okay? So, nahi niratmakam kinchit bhutam vyavaharaya avakalpate. Ataha mastani maya atmana atmabhatvena stito. Right? So, what he's saying is that if something is niratmaka, that means it doesn't have any existence. It doesn't have any satta. Satta is any existence. If it doesn't have any existence, how can you have vyavahara? How can you use them? How can you say it is like this, it is like that? You cannot talk like that. So they have to have some, there is some existence there. It's not niratmaka, without any truth in them. It is not true nor false, either not true, false at the same time. Therefore, it's called anirvachaniya. You cannot describe it in adequate words. You cannot capture it. What? This whole Mayatmaka samsara that you see, this phenomenal reality, neither false nor true, neither false true at the same time. Okay? So he's saying niratmaka. And therefore, what he's saying is that, yes, I am that Atma of all this. I am that primal existence, that reality, which pervades all of this, and that gives them some truth value. Like, for example, a rope is 5 feet tall or 5 feet long. When you see the snake in it, the snake also will be 5 feet long. The truth about its length is derived from the truth of the rope's length. So, when you see the rope, you say it is a 5 feet long snake. You are saying it's a 5 feet long snake. That snake part is false. 5 feet long is true. And there is also true, because there is a rope. That there is a rope is all true. But here when you say there is a snake, the snake part which replaces the rope part is the delusion, is the superimposition. But ayam sarpa, that ayam part, this is, that is fine, there is no problem. This is true. This is a snake, that part is false. So that this is the trueness of all that exists. And that is the Atma. So I am a man, she's a woman, this is a dog, this is a mountain. That this is, that is, that is that we are saying is abhyavichari, it's pervading everything. That is that Atma Swarupa. In that manner, I am present in everything. That is how Bhagavan says, okay? That is how everything is in me only. And then he's saying, Tesam bhutanam aham eva atma ityataha tesu sthita mudha buddhinam avabhasate ataha bravimi nacha aham teshu bhuteshu avastita murtavat sanslesa abhavena akasasya api antastamo hi aham. Okay? Antaratamo, not antastamo. Antaratamo hi aham. So what is he trying to say here is, do you know one thing Bhagavan is clarifying? Because everything is pervaded by me, that Satchidananda Swarupa, that supra reality, that reality principle, easiness, is pervading everything. Therefore, I'm saying they are all in me. But the moment I say they are in me because I'm in all of them, you get hold of it. And you say, okay, so Bhagavan is in everything. That is pantheistic philosophy. All of us say that there is a Narayana Purusha in all human beings and animals and everything. Aren't we saying this? And therefore, we should respect it. And in Eastern India, if your leg touches anyone, they say Vishnu or Narayana, whatever, to respect that inner divine principle, divine existence, divine Purusha, the soul which is inside, which is not different from Bhagavan himself. But what Bhagavan says here is, it is for the dull-minded people that it appears as if I'm in all of them. But actually, I cannot be in all of them. Why? Because do you know I'm subtler than space? Antaratama. compared to Akasha. So because I'm subtler than the Akasha, I cannot be in these Thula Bhuta things, these material objects you see outside. I cannot be in any of them. Nor there can be any relationship between them and me, but they are all provided by me. And I have already explained how to make sense of it. That essentially everything is just one thing appearing as many. That is how we have already discussed that. Nacha mastani bhutani brahmadini pashyami yogam yuktim ghatanam me mama aishwaryam mama ishwarasya idam aishwaryam. What is aishwarya? You know, ishwar ka bhava, ishwarasya idam. That which is associated with Ishvara is Aishwarya. Okay, and that Aishwarya, those qualities, those attributes that you associate with me, like magical power, like omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, you try to recognize them. It's there. Okay, you see that. Nachamastani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaryam bhuta bhranna cha bhutosto mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. And therefore, he's saying that you please understand that. So it appears as if I'm in all of them, but actually I'm not there. Nahi asa sansargi vastu kvachid adheya bhavena avasthitam bhavati. This is a particular statement taken from Brahma Sutra Abhasa, the Adhyasa Bhashya of Shankaracharya. Whenever you impose a certain name or form or quality on anything else, there cannot be any real relationship. Okay, how to make sense of it? Imagine that this is a red color thing, okay? This is a red color book. It's a small Gita book, so it's red color. If you bring a crystal and hold it close to it, that crystal will look what? It will look red. Is the red color anyway genuinely associated with that crystal? No, because you are holding that particular crystal close to a red color object, could be a sari, could be a flower, it looks like a red color. So the relationship between the red color and that crystal is not real, but the crystal looks red color. You know, it's like that. It looks red color, but there is no real relationship. That is the grand delusion, given as a good example of how to understand the samsara appears real imposed on Brahman. Like the red color is imposed on the crystal, and the crystal looks like a red stone. It's not a red stone. It has no color of its own. So it's transparent, but it looks like a red colored stone. It looks like a red quartzite. Similarly, this particular phenomenal reality is superimposed on Brahman. That's Sachidananda Swarupa, Advitiya Chaitanya Swarupa. Because this is a superimposition, whatever is superimposed, there is a adhaya, adhya, and adhyasta. Something which is adhyasta, which is superimposed. On what? There is something on which is superimposed, that is the adhya. Now that particular adhya, the carrier of this illusion, and the object, that perceived illusion or illusory object, there is no genuine relationship between them. Same way, I am not anyway linked with all that appears as real. That is what Bhagavan explains. And in the next verse, he's saying, Nachamastani bhutani pasyame yogam aishwaryam bhuta bhanna cha bhutastu mamatma bhuta bhavanaha. He's saying, I am not in any of them, neither they are in me. Just 1 minute back, he was saying that they are all in me. In what sense? As superimposed objects. Genuinely, no, they are not there. He is now taking it a notch higher to tell us about his real nature, his real dharma, bhutani. Then how do I make sense of it, boss? Arjuna is confused, like all of us. Then Bhagavan smiles and says, Pasyame yogam aishwaryam. Okay, if you want to make sense of it, you look at my magical powers. Look at this as a magical appearance of what doesn't exist as existing. And there he introduces a new word called Maya, that Anirvachaniya Shakti, that Maya Upadhi Sahita, that Brahman appears as Ishvara, that Maya becomes Avidya Upahita Chaitanya or consciousness is Jiva. That same Maya or ignorance, you call it Maya or Avidya, is one thing. That delusional power added to these truths becomes Ishvara. It has name, form, qualities, compassion, help, everything. And that omnipresence, omniscient, you know, omnipotent, omnipresence, and omniscience. These qualities, these are all imposed through Maya. And same thing here. And when it's superimposed on that limited consciousness that all of us are, it becomes like a jiva with birth and death and certain agonies, certain happinesses, whatever you call it, which we call ignorance. And then I am that fellow, he's saying, it's very beautiful in fifth verse. Bhuta Vrit, I am the one who is Palaka of all these material existences. I sustain them. I'm the sustainer of everything that appears. Not a Bhutasto, but I'm not in any of them. Because he has clarified now that I'm a supramental thing. I'm a supernal reality, which your mind even cannot make sense of. Then saying Mamatma, Bhuta Bhavanaha, and that supernal thing is referring to as myself. I mean, that is also again a very interesting thing, isn't it? Bhagavan saying there is just one thing called the Brahman. He's saying again Mamatma. Why? Because he's talking to a guy who is very uneducated, mind not very sharp. Like the mother tells the boy, little boy, her son, what is one? She shows one finger. What is two? She shows two fingers. So the boy cannot make sense of one and two without the fingers to begin with, or maybe those some dolls or some, there are different kinds of physical, objects you can use to count them. But when he grows up, he understands numbers. He doesn't use his fingers to count them. Now, when he graduates from fingers, then he uses numbers that he writes, right? But imagine when he's thinking, is he using numbers? No, he starts adding 5 plus 4, 9, he says. He doesn't write anything. He doesn't imagine those figures either. Do you? You know, when I say 5, when you say 5, do you write in your mind A5VE, or you write that symbol as 5 in your mind? Do you imagine it? You don't know anything. You don't do anything, but you immediately become aware of 5. You neither bring in a picture of 5, that shape, neither do you bring that sound 5 into your mind, nor do you make that particular, the set of alphabets F, I, V, E. Do you bring them into your mind? No. So that number, that abstract reality just flashes in your mind without the help of all this. They are in the background, but you deal with the numbers directly. Similarly, Bhagavan, in order to make how to understand this reality easier for us, he talks about Ishvara and Prakriti, Paraprakriti, Apraprakriti. Having said all that, suddenly he's saying, actually, to make some understanding, realistic, comprehensive understanding of how this manifold, myriad, samsara, or phenomenal reality appears, which is diverse, which is many. Out of one, which is me, he is using this word Mama Atma. Because when he's saying this, he's not Nirguna Brahma, he's Saguna Brahma. So Mama Atma, when he's referring that I am a Saguna Brahma. I'm telling you Mama Atma. That means my Sarva Vyapaka, Nama Rupa Rahita, Sadanandamaya, Advaita Chaitanya Rupa Atma. That is the Nirguna Brahman is referring to. It's like you are saying that you can always build your house, but you are living in a flat. But maybe you are a big landlord. You have taken an apartment in a big city and you're staying. And somebody says, where does he stay? Oh, he stays in my backyard. And the guy who's listening to is kind of curious and he's smiling. He says, but you just are living in a 4-bedroom flat, a 3-bedroom flat, and you're saying that he lives in your backyard. He says, yeah, but I'm talking about my house. And the other guy is still confused that you're saying your house, you're staying right here, your house. He's saying, yeah, but he lives in my house. This is my flat. Then he tells that he has a lot of land, he has farmhouse, and there are quarters for his workers, and this village guy lives in his particular farmhouse. Similarly, Bhagavan says Mama Atma, because when he's speaking, he cannot be Nirguna Atma. To be able to speak, to connect with Arjuna, to any of us, Bhagavan has to have some name and form. He may be Nirakara, but he has to have some quality. Like in Islam or Christianity, they say God is kind. So he has some compassion. But here we are taking it a notch higher, where he has no name and form. He's that ultimate all-pervading reality, which is really unlimited, not limited even by good qualities or bad qualities. Right? So he's saying Mama Atma Bhuta Bhavana. Bhuta Bhavana means what? What creates everything that you see. So let's look at how Shankaracharya sort of makes sense of it. Then we'll make sense of both of these in Madhusudana. Ate eva asansargi tvat mama, because it is something which cannot be connected. Why? It is too subtle, too sukshma, so it cannot be connected with anything. Because it is asansargi, therefore mama nacha mastani. And then in that sloka he's saying nacha mastani bhutani brahmadini pasyame yogam yukti ghatanam me mama aishwaram aishwaryasya idam aishwaryam yogam atmano yathyatmyam ityarthaha. So that is my real nature, that actually I'm not connected with anything. They appear as if they are connected with me, created by me, and that is the magic involved here. Please understand that is my yoga sakti, or that magical quality that I have. From blade of grass till the Brahma Loka or Brahma, the creator God, they are all part of this whole magical phenomenal reality. Tatha cha srutihi asansargitvat asangatam darsayati asonga nahi sajjate. Whatever is asanga, whatever is without a second, the Brahman is without a second. Nahi sajjate, it cannot be connected with anything. That is what is Upanishad saying. So he's saying this is to reinforce that truth in our minds. Idam cha asyaryam anyapad anyat pashya. And then look at this moment of magic, the surprising thing, which sort of makes you flabbergasted. You don't know how to make sense of it. Bhuta Vrit Asongopi, even though I am not connected with anything, at the same time, I'm like your father. Why? Because whatever is magical, whatever is kalpita, the dream cannot happen if there is no human being. The dream is unreal, but there has to be a human being who is asleep for the dream to happen. Therefore, who is sustaining the dreams? That guy on the bed. He's asleep, he's not doing anything. He's nowhere connected with what is happening in his dream. But then he's a sustainer of the dreams. He wakes up, dream comes to an end. So Bhagavan is also Bhutavrit Asongopi. Some Bhutani Vibharti. I'm sort of taking care of all of this. Nacha Bhutasto, but at the same time, I'm not established in any of them the way a person who is dreaming of a dance program. He's there in that dance, but actually he is nowhere. He is not a part of that dream. The dream happens in his body, in his mind, or whatever. Yathoktena nyayena darsitatvat, but he has already mentioned that earlier. So bhutastha bhutastatva anupapattehe. So because I'm asansargi, I'm sukshma, I'm like akasha, and therefore I cannot in any way become bhutastha. Katham punaruchyate aso mama atma iti. Oh sir, why are you saying that is my atma? That Brahma appears like it's your leg or hands. He's saying vibhajya dehadi sanghatam tasmin ahankaram adhyaropya laukika buddhim anushmaram vyapadisati mama atma iti. Because Lord Krishna is talking to Arjuna, who is his bride, okay? His bride, but he's still, compared to the Vedanta thing, the whole secret. conversation that is happening, he would be considered to be good but not good enough. Therefore, Bhagavan says, he clarifies that he has to speak in a manner which becomes easy for a person to understand. So it is laukika buddhi, common human understanding. He has to bring it to that level, and he clarifies the way in he's so looking at deha, the sangadha, and then you have this ahankara, you say, this is my body, this is my mind, this is my nose, right? But are you different from any of these? You have that sort of a description. So Bhagavan also sort of clarifies that it is a little like that. That is what he's explaining here. Na punaha atmanaha atmanya iti logavad लोकवत् अजानन् तथा भूतभावन भूतानि bhavayati, utpadayati, vardhayati va bhuta bhavanaha. So this word of bhuta bhavana he is now explaining. Bhuta vrit, he explained that I am sort of a sustainer of everything. And he's also a creator of everything. If you look at the Srishtivada, he's a creator of everything. In what sense he's creating it? The way we have understood it, which is Maya Sakti. He makes these appearances appear to be real. Okay, broadly this is about this. Now, there is nothing slightly separate what we would see in the Madhusudan Tika. It might appear a little challenging, but it is worth the time it requires. So far, our need to make better sense of these slokas is concerned. Idam jagat sarvam bhuta bhautika tat karana rupam drishya jatam mad ajnana kalpitam maya adhishtanena paramarthata paramartha satta sadrupena spuranupena cha tatam vyaptam rajju khandena iva tad ajnana kalpitam sarpadharadi. So what he is trying to say here is idam jagat sarvam, this whole sansara that you see, this whole thing, bhuta bhautika tat karana rupam. You know, bhuta and bhuta sambandhya bhautika, whatever is material and associated with it, you know, because you have layers of causality, because we have discussed that out of akasa comes vayu, from that fire, from that water, from that earth, from that arna, and then you have the divinity and human beings, and this whole srishti prakriya continues. So you have material causes of what manifests, as jada and as chetana, and this whole drishya jatam, these are all appearances, the way dream also happens. Mad ajnana kalpitam, you know, this is created out of maya, that ajnana kalpitam. This whole appearances, this drishya jatam, whatever you are seeing, is born out of ignorance, ajnana kalpitam. Maya adhishtanena, and I remain, that supra reality that I am, I remain the foundation, paramartha satta. So I am that paramartha satta because that alone is true. Sadrupena. Said there are two words in Vedanta and Upanishad, you have to remember them. One is satta, the other one is spurana. What is spurana? Spurana is actually kampana, but here spurana is that shining thing. So imagine in the dark night, you dropped a coin and you are not being able to find it. So what do? You carefully look at it. And then the coin shines, you can take note of his presence or existence. Till it shines, you cannot know. So how to establish some connectivity? You have sensors that it can recognize, or you have some night goggles or whatever. So you want to have that particular object make its presence felt by shining or by sort of sort of telling its name through its appearance in certain way, and that is that spurana thing, satta and spurana. Satta is that existence, and spurana is that process through which it makes its existence apparent, right? It sort of expresses its existence. That is the spurana. Satta and spuranena cha tatam vyaptam. Tatam means vyaptam, it all pervaded. How? He's saying the way rajju khandena iva. Tad ajnana kalpitam sarpadharadi. The way the snake appears on the rope, same way the sansara appears on me. Toya Vasudevana parichinena sarvam jagat katham vyaptam. Arjuna is very flabbergasted, and he's a very logical guy. So he's asking this question, "Oh Lord, are you trying to cheat me? You're my cousin brother. We are almost same height, and I'm a better fighter than you. Of course, you are very sharp and intelligent, but you're saying that you are all pervading. How? If you're all pervading, we are going to fight with the Kauravas. They're on the other side. I have my brothers. I mean, then I can't kill anyone. It's all Krishna all around, which is actually a reality." Then Bhagavan says, no, it's not about my physical being. No ityaha. So he's saying, Kathang vyaptam pratyaksha virodhat, because I see you as a very limited agochori huta. That abhyakta rupa that I have, which is the non-manifest reality, which actually can never be captured with the help of any sense organ. Swaprakasha, it is self-expressive. You don't need another torchlight to see the sun. It's like that. Swaprakasha, it makes itself evident. Advaya, there is no two, it's just only one. Then what? Chaitanya, and it is consciousness. Sadananda Rupa, always blissful. Look at the beautiful words which are used to express, to sort of describe the presence of the divine, the Almighty, the Satta Swarupa. Swaprakasha, Advaya, Chaitanya, self-evident, undivided or indivisible, one consciousness, which by its very nature is blissful. That is how he's describing it. Murtir Yasya, whose body is like that, whose reality is like that. Tena, by that, don't look at this physical murti of mine. I'm talking about that avyakta murti of mine. Vyaptam idam sarvam, this is all pervaded by me. Natu anena dehena ityartha, not by this body, which is your person. I'm not talking about this physical body of mine. Ataha imacha na evaham tesu kalpitesu bhutesu avastitah kalpita kalpitayoho sambandha ayogat. This is the point we were discussing yesterday, that between kalpita and akalpita. Kalpita is the dream. Akalpita is the body of the guy who is sleeping and dreaming. You can never establish all logical cause-effect relationship between the kalpita and the akalpita. Okay? Sambandha or yogat, you cannot have a real relationship. Therefore, Bhagavan says, I am not tesu bhutesu avastitah ataha eva uktam yatra yad adhyastam tat kritena gunena doshena va anumatrena api na sambadhyate iti. Therefore, in Brahma Sutra Bhashya, Bhagavan says, in Adhyasya Bhashya, Yatra yad adhyastam, the red color is imposed on the crystal. Yatra yat adhyastam, yatra means in the crystal, yat means that red color, adhyastam, superimposed. Tat kritena, by that particular superimposition, gunena doshenava, whether that fault or that quality, redness, whatever. Anumatrena api, even by one iota, by any limited way, na sambandhyate iti, there can be no real relationship. You superimpose something with something because it might look like a red colored person. It's like, just think about it. It must have happened with many of you in parties and all, right? So you're in a party and there is just imagine one of your colleagues, maybe who's wearing a skirt and a blouse or something in a short height, and she's coming to you and talking to you, sir, what do we do, what are our plans and stuff like that. And you are maybe talking to that person with a bit of warmth, and some people are looking at you from a distance. You are giving some guidance about some tomorrow's work, but somebody thinks you are actually talking to a daughter because they haven't seen that stuff. It's just guest at the party. And the next day he says, so how's your daughter? You say, what daughter? I have a son, or I'm not married. He says, but you are having that, I saw you, father-daughter had a very good conversation the other day over a cup of tea in the party. You say, yeah, but that's, you start smiling. You said, okay, you remember, okay. You're talking about a staff. You said, no, she's a young professional working in my division. She just joined, and fresh out of university, but she's not my daughter. Now, just because somebody is having this idea that she is your daughter, is there a relation between you as father and daughter? That imagined relationship has nothing to do with you. You both are colleagues. Somebody else is imagining that she is your daughter. That's his problem. Similarly, Bhagavan and all that you see, there is no real relationship. This is imagined in the minds of we people. Okay? That is what he's saying. So then in the next verse he's saying, Nachamastani bhutani pasyami yogam aishwaryam bhuta bhunnacha bhutastu mamatma bhuta bhavana. And then let's finish that quickly. Divishta iva aditya kalpitani jala chalanadini mai kalpitani bhutani paramarthato mai na santi. You know, he's giving a beautiful, typical Vedantic example. Jala chalanadi. You know, just imagine you are looking at a sun which is reflecting in a river, in a water surface in a river. And the water is not still in the river. So the sun appears as if it's kind of trembling. Sometimes it looks like two, sometimes it looks like one. And you have one thing which you have studied, that the sun is getting reflected in the water. So you, for a fraction of a second, you also imagine whether the sun, and you say the sun is sort of moving. Look at the sun. It's swimming in the water. This is all imaginary because the sun is actually in the sky. You are looking at the water surface. And to you, it appears as if the sun is moving. Actually, it isn't moving. That is completely your problem. It's a problem of the mind, the way it looks and makes sense of it. Okay? So therefore, what he's saying, Nachamastani bhutani pasyami yogam aishwaram bhuta bhunnato bhutastu mamatma bhuta bhavanaha divishta iva adite, in the sun, kalpitani jala chalanadini mai kalpitani bhutani paramarthato mai na santi. The way these movements are not there in the sun, similar way, all the sansara that you see doesn't exist in me. These are imagined in me. Tvam Arjunaha prakriti manushya buddhim bhitva. So you abandon your typical rational mindset, which look at whatever you can see with your senses, physical senses is true. All other things are not true, right? This is what is the scientific mind all about. So drop this. Pasya me paryalochaya, try to see me, my yogam. What is that yogam? What is that beautiful thing he's bringing in? He is explaining. Prabhavam aishwaram aghatana ghatana chaturyam. What doesn't exist appears as if it is happening. Okay? And prabhava, that particular thing, that my ability to influence a process of manifestation which really doesn't happen. That is my magic, that beautiful thing. Maya vina iva mama avalokaya. Mama avalokaya ityarthaha. So you please see this is my magic. You know, if you have seen any magic shows, what happens? He comes and he moves. Of course, there's like a hand, but there is actually something called delusion. He comes and he creates things out of nothing, isn't it? And he has nothing to do with them. They are not even real, but he creates that delusion before you. And that appears like real, but there is something else which is behind that. And you'll get to know it if you start learning magic. And if you see that reality, the magic show will lose all its charm. You will not get excited because you will know what he's doing. You're not super excited. It's like, you must have seen that during your, when you were a little child, you must have learned this, right? So they will put this hand like this, okay? And then something like this. I remember I used to do it. I'm not being able to do it. So what happens is that they will hold this particular pen like this, and they will say that, there'll be one finger is holding it, right? Then I'll say, look, the pencil is just sticking to me on its own, but actually there's one finger with which I'm holding it. You must have all done this fun with your friends when you were in class 2 or 3. But if you know actually there's a finger holding it, the sense of wonder is not going to affect you at all, so you are not going to enjoy it because you know he's doing this. Similarly, what Bhagavan does, actually nothing exists, but it appears so beautiful, attractive, depressing. This is the Mayika thing, that is the delusional thing. Naham kasyachit adheyo, napi kasyachit adharaha, tathapi aham Sarveshu bhuteshu mayi cha sarvani bhutani iti mahati iyam maya. Neither really I'm in any of these, nor are they really in me. The way the snake is really not in the rope and the rope is not in the snake. Because this delusion happens, this Maya is very powerful. This magic is impenetrable. You cannot easily make sense of it. A couple of more sentences will finish it. Okay? Yato bhutani sarvani karyani utpadanataya vivarti. This particular thing sort of, it creates this bhutani, this all material realities. It sustains. Utpadanataya, because it's created out of me. Dharayati, yosayati, iti cha bhuta vrit. I am being referred to as bhuta vrit, sustainer of all this, because they sort of emerge out of me through this magic. And they appear as real. And they appear as if I am creating them. But this is all an appearance, fundamentally not there. Bhutani sarvani kartrutaya utpadayati iti bhuta bhavanaha. There is a sustainer, also creator, bhuta bhavanaha. And in what sense? As if he is karta, but Bhagavan is not karta, nor bhukta, nor bharta, none of these. But he is all of these at the same time. Sarvaniyamaka, where he is asanga also. He is not connected with anything. How can he control everything? But he does. In what sense? Because there is just one reality, which is Bhagavan, nothing else. For us, there is just one reality, and that is Bhagavan, that is Ishvara Tattva, that is that divinity, that is the only truth. All of it, other than that, is delusional. And I think we'll stop here because we have crossed the time, and then we'll finish tomorrow. A couple of sentences, and we'll wind up. And so I'll stop here, and if you have any questions, and